भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। नमा ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांता स्वामी निति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य अदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. So we'll continue to read teachings of Lord Chaitanya. So we are on, Krishna is the absolute truth, the supreme personality of Godhead, and he is situated in his internal potency, which is known as Swarup Shakti or Atma Shakti, as described in the Bhagavad Gita. He expands himself in various multiple forms. Some of them are known as personal forms and some of them are known as separated forms. Thus, he is enjoying in all the spiritual planets as well as material universes. So this is page 98. Okay, I can just continue. The expansion of his separated forms are called living entities, and they are classified according to the energies of the Lord. Such living entities are divided into two classes. One is eternally liberated, and other one is eternally conditioned. Nitya Baddha and Nitya Siddha, right? Maharaj was speaking about it recently. Eternally liberated living entities never come in contact with the material nature, and they do not have any experience of material life. They are eternally engaged in Krishna consciousness or devotional service to the Lord, and they are counted as associates of Krishna. Their pleasure, the only enjoyment of their life, is derived by rendering transcendental loving service to Krishna. Those who are eternally conditioned, on the other hand, are ever divorced from the transcendental loving service of Krishna, and thus they are subjected to the threefold miseries of material existence. On account of the conditioned soul's eternally existing attitude of divorce from Krishna, the spell of material energy awards him two kinds of bodily existence. One is the gross body, consists of 5 elements, and the other is the subtle body, consists of mind, intelligence, and ego. Because he is covered by these two kinds of bodies, the conditioned soul is eternally suffering the pangs of material existence, known as the threefold miseries. We are subjected to 6 kinds of enemies, such as lust and anger, etc., and that is the everlasting disease of the conditioned soul. Disease and condition, the living entity is transmigrating all over the universe. Sometimes he's situated in the upper planetary system and sometimes he's traveling in the lower planetary system. That becomes his normal condition life. This disease can be cured only when the expert physician, the bona fide spiritual master, is met and followed. When the conditioned soul faithfully follows the instruction of such a bona fide spiritual master, the material disease is cured and the living entity is promoted to the liberated stage and again attends to the devotional service of Krishna and goes back home, back to Krishna. A conditioned living entity should come to the consciousness of his real position. He should pray to the Lord, how long and how much will I be under the rule of the different bodily functions such as lust and anger? As masters of the conditioned soul, lust and anger are never merciful, and there is no cessation of the conditioned soul service to such bad masters. When he comes to his real consciousness or Krishna consciousness, he gives up serving those bad masters and approaches Krishna with a frank and open heart to achieve his shelter. Then he prays to Krishna to be engaged in his transcendental loving service. In the Vedic literature, fruitive activities have sometimes been highly praised, and sometimes the mystic process of yoga is praised, and sometimes the speculative search for knowledge is praised. They are each considered as different ways to self-realization, but in spite of praise for the different paths of self-realization, in every writing, the path of devotional service has been accepted as the foremost. In other words, devotional service to Lord Krishna is the highest perfectional path of self-realization, recommended to be performed directly. The effects of fruitive activities, mystic meditation, and cultivation of speculative knowledge are not direct methods of self-realization. They are indirect methods because without the addition of devotional service, none of these recommended paths can lead to the highest perfection of self-realization. Therefore, such paths to self-realization are ultimately dependent on the path of devotional service. I'll just stop here and quickly summarize. So basically, today we are seeing that, first of all, Prabhupada started with the two kinds of living entities, right? One is the Nitya Baddha and then the Nitya Siddha. Nitya Siddha is eternally liberated. All they have is the focus is Krishna. So no problem, right? Eternally situated in loving service of the Lord. But the Nitya Baddha, which we are, conditioned soul, we have divorced, like we have our own agenda parallel, right? We want to enjoy separately from Krishna, and that's why we are here. And that's where Prabhupada is explaining that with the living entities, those who are Nitya Baddhas, we have two forms of the bodies, right? One is the subtle gross body, and then one is the gross body, second is the subtle body, and then all the false ego, mind, intelligence, all of that is really geared towards what is good for me, what's in it for me. Always I'm being so selfish and wanting to have my own happiness and pleasure. But that's the problem. And then Prabhupada is explaining about the different ways of self-realization. There are different paths. One is through karma kanda and all of that. There's so much of praise given in the literature, Vedic literature. Then we have this Vedic study, which also gives a lot of self-realization. However, Prabhupada is explaining how direct devotional service to Krishna directly is the topmost. And we all have understood that, right? That's the main focus when we teach, when we are learning in Krishna consciousness through this philosophy that has been given to us by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We have the direct relationship with the Lord and we are serving the Lord directly. So there's nothing can beat that, having that direct relationship and service attitude. So we just continue on this path and then focus. And because it also helps with this path, the other thing is also, it is helping to curb, to really cut down our ego. Because see, the other paths, I'm not sure how much our ego will be attacked. But in this devotion service, the main thing what we have been shown is the path of humility. Unless we are humble, unless we go down, there is no purification, and we can never get to the stage where heart will be clear. So that's why the more and more emphasis is on devotional service, because this path of humility and that the subtle, the false ego and all of that has to really come down. Otherwise, how will we even qualify to go back to Godhead? So those are really the important messages from today's reading, and we can continue to chanting. Thank you. Hare Krishna.